Imagine a world where we responded to pregnancy announcements with "Oh, you'll regret that." Wouldn't that be obnoxious? And yet I guarantee that those of us who are child-free have been told we will regret our choice umpteen times. I certainly have, by family, friends, colleagues, hairdressers, strangers on the street, strangers on the internet, political leaders, and let's not forget Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, who has an obsession with the child-free. Some people are so drenched in pronatalism that their reproductive agenda comes as no surprise. The ones who disappoint me are those who utter words of acceptance and free choice, claiming to understand that we are all different, and then in the same breath use terms like regret, missing out and the transformation of motherhood. Honestly, it's all a bit weird that someone would center their own life experience on someone else. Perhaps it's the ultimate projection. Maybe it's a case of misery loves company. Or perhaps it's simply an indication of how egocentrically they live. Whatever it is, this mention of regret is a propaganda machine wreaking havoc with some people's clarity of mind in making one of the most consequential decisions of their lifetime, whether to have kids or not. So what is the truth about regret? Are the child-free likely to regret not having kids? The answer may surprise you. We've misinterpreted regret about children. A study by Professors Jennifer and Zachary Neal found that 1 in 5 adults doesn't want children, and they don't regret it later. It also specifically stipulates that there is little discernible difference in life regrets between older parents and child-free people. These findings are timely rebuttal to the ever-ubiquitous and pervasive comments child-free people endure about regret. Now, I could just leave it at that, but why stop there when, by an interesting twist of assumption, there's more to the topic of regret and children than most people realize. And that's the regret of having children. Yes, parental regret is a thing. So the chances of those intentionally choosing not to have children, going on and regretting this choice are so low, we don't even have a figure. And yet, the figure on parental regret is tangible. In fact, this study shows that parental regret could be as high as 17%, and a German poll shows that 1 in 5 parents in Germany regret having children. Then there's the book by Orna Donath called Regretting Motherhood, which has some fascinating anecdotal case studies. And a little bit of social media data for you. There's a Facebook group titled I Regret Having Children with 83,000 followers. Incidentally, there's not one titled I Regret Not Having Children. It seems to me we are focusing our fear of regret on the wrong demographic. What's with some parents worrying about the child-free regretting their choice? I recently read an article in which a respected writer, who is a parent, interviewed a respected writer, who is childless. I'm intentionally not linking to this as I am not here to shame. In the preamble before the interviewer shares her feelings about involuntary childlessness and then admits to feeling discomfort about the increased discourse happening these days on the child-free choice. She goes on to say, "When I hear child-free women proudly share their choice, I admit I find myself worrying. My inner voice says, what if they regret their decision later? Do they know how transformative motherhood is? But these are my thoughts, not theirs. I fully support their decision, while I also admit that I feel a tiny bit challenged by it. Does their decision not to have children invalidate mine? No, of course not." While this is the interviewer's truth, it's wild to me that she worries about other people's life choices, and perhaps even wilder that she thinks it's okay to share this at the start of an interview with a childless woman. A woman who, for many years, has tirelessly spoken out for all women without children, childless and child-free. Given that her interviewee was childless and came from a place of wanting children, perhaps the interviewer believed it was okay to share her infantilizing beliefs about the child-free. Perhaps she thought she would be met with agreement. Sometimes it's best to keep our prejudices to ourselves. I find it a leading preamble in both her comments about the childless and child-free, and while I don't believe it's intentional, I believe it stands to influence the readers. Perhaps most worrisome is the way it introduces a subtle power hierarchy between mothers and women who are not mothers. And yet, it is supposed to be an illuminating, empathy-evoking and bridge-building interview, connecting mothers with a greater awareness of women without children. Quite honestly, it triggered me, as it represents what I'm so used to hearing as a child-free woman. That my choice is one that induces worry because it's regarded as wrong, while the choice to have children is considered right. When we simplify life so grossly as to imply there's a wrong way and a right way to live, we collapse all the different ways we find meaning in being human. If I'm being pedantic, which I'm going to be, the use of the word proudly also gives me the ick. I can't help but feel there's an underlying tone of judgment, as if being child-free is nothing to be proud of. It's written with an eye roll. But I am proud to be child-free. I'm proud of myself for all I have endured to be able to live authentically. Of the child-free, the interviewer asks, what if they regret their decision later? Does she ever ask this of people who have children or who want children? Going by what we now know, perhaps she should. But why the worry in the first place? Does she worry that someone has chosen the wrong career, or may go on to regret not getting a cat, or a dog, or an all-singing and dancing parrot? I'm guessing not. So why this patronizing and condescending thought process on regret about not having children? Why push forward on how transformative motherhood is? I wonder if she knows how transformative other things in life are. The truth is, what has been transformative for me wouldn't necessarily impact her. Transformation finds us in different ways. I believe her when she says motherhood is transformative. After all, we hear this regularly. Although I fear that if I were to hold this conversation with her, she would go into the argument of motherhood being more transformative than other things, and so I'd be back to not being believed and drawn into a game of gross unnewtmanship and comparison. It seems to me that this interviewer is so contorted by her biases that she lacks the imagination to believe that anyone can be truly happy in a life that looks different to hers. The interviewer tells on herself a little bit. I always say that those who are most affronted by my choice not to have children make my choice about them. They see my choice as an attack on their choice to have kids. I know, it's egocentric. But the interviewer does this. She openly and perhaps insecurely questions whether people's choice not to have kids invalidates her choice to have them. Weird, right? Spoiler, it doesn't. Have kids, don't have kids. No one's life choices invalidate another's. I blame pronatalism. I don't blame the interviewer for holding such deeply pronatalist beliefs. She probably doesn't even realize she's pronatalist. I blame the system. The interviewer obeyed. She had the children she was conditioned to have. Maybe it was free will, or maybe she was influenced by pronatalism. Either way, I trust her self-knowing and conviction when she says that she always wanted children. I just wish she would offer the same courtesy back to the proud child-free who tell her they don't want children. Yes, if someone tells you they don't want kids, believe them. Trust them to know their own minds and that they've likely thought about this long and hard. Holding a desire to have children is perfectly natural and normal, but in the indoctrination and valorization of motherhood by governments, religious leaders, and talking heads, there's a dismissal and denial about the validity of choosing a life without children. We are surrounded by stories with happily ever afters involving children. We are told children bring hope and happiness. And for pronatalism to be fully effective, it must warn against the lunacy of not having children. It must instill a fear of regret. And so most of society drinks the Kool-Aid without thinking about it, then becomes purveyors of this unsubstantiated belief. And quite honestly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the double standard. It helps no one. I'm sick of the assumption that all parents are basking in the glow of their children. And all women without kids are sad and sorrowful and will grow into lonely, bitter old women. While I myself have always known I don't want children, staying true to my authenticity and avoiding the coercion of pronatalism has been a challenging gauntlet to run. I can't even imagine how tough this experience is for those who are wobbling about on the fence and caught in the crossfire of pros and cons of having kids. I may well look back on my life and wonder how things would have turned out if I'd had children. But that's not regret. Because right now, there is no single cell in my body that wants to be a mum. You can't regret something you never wanted to do in the first place. And one thing is for sure, to have a child to quell a fear of future regret of not having them is perhaps one of the most problematic reasons to have a kid and will not bode well for anyone, least of all the poor kid. Maybe we child-free women need to channel our inner Claire from House of Cards, and next time we are asked if we regret not having kids, Look the questioner square in the eyes and reply, do you regret having them?
Ist das Syote? Tuolla ei varmaan ole semmoisia lapsia.
Tasapeli.